Hey guys, today I'll show you a science fiction thriller TV series named The Fortress, Season 1. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take care. The story is set in the year 2025. Due to issues like influenza viruses and geopolitical conflicts, the world has been plunged into a massive crisis. Wars have become frequent, and order is crumbling amidst the chaos. However, while the rest of the world descends into turmoil, Norway has remained free from the ravages of war, thanks to its advantageous geographical resources. Wary of the conflict spilling over onto Norwegian soil, the Norwegian parliament voted to enact a special disaster act. They have built high walls along their borders, cutting off all access to the outside world. Norwegian scientists also developed an intelligent AI system. The system analyzes the current situation and precisely allocates all resources. Its fertile land and abundant marine resources have solved Norway's food and energy problems. Thanks to this act, Norway has become a paradise, a safe haven. Large numbers of refugees have gathered at the Norwegian border, hoping to gain entry. However, not all refugees are granted entry. To become a Norwegian citizen, one must be a scientist or possess special skills to be granted status. But unknown to everyone, a terrible crisis is looming over Norway. The scene shifts to a woman named Lisa, an inspector at the Norwegian Directorate of Resource Management. Thanks to the AI's assistance, the work of resource management is quite easy. Everyone can make quick analyses just by looking at the data. Due to the large influx of refugees, Norway is facing a meat shortage. Lisa suggests building new greenhouses to compensate by increasing vegetable production. Her superior thinks it's an excellent idea and approves it on the spot. However, just as Lisa and her colleagues are selecting a location for the greenhouses on the map, the system suddenly sounds an alarm. Lisa turns to see that a monitor at a salmon farm has gone offline. 60% of Norway's meat protein comes from its salmon farms. If something were wrong with a farm, it would directly impact the entire nation's meat supply. Lisa immediately checks the logs and finds the farm has been offline for 3 days. Feeling something is amiss, she calls the farm's manager, but the call is hung up almost immediately. Lisa senses something is wrong and deploys a drone to investigate at sea. The farm appears normal with no visible issues. Just as Lisa is wondering what's going on, the drone spots the manager busy on the fish pens. She asks him if he's aware a farm is offline. The manager impatiently replies that he knows and tells her it's private property where she can't film without permission. Frustrated by the manager's complaints, Lisa is about to ask about the monitoring equipment when the drone suddenly loses its signal. As she puzzles over this, a police officer arrives at her office. It turns out that due to the severe problem of refugee smuggling, all of Norway's drones have been assigned to the border. Lisa's use of the drone was unauthorized, which is why the police showed up. Lisa reports the anomaly at the farm, hoping the police will investigate. However, the police chief refuses to cooperate, stating he has no orders from the Department of Security. As Lisa is part of the Department of Agriculture, she lacks the authority to command the police. If she wants police involvement, she must get approval from the Department of Security. Before Lisa can argue, the chief revokes the Department of Agriculture's drone privileges and leaves the office. Dismayed by the arrogant police chief, Lisa tries calling the farm manager again. This time, he answers. The manager explains that the farm is currently changing vaccines, but he was delayed by other matters. To prevent the data from showing abnormalities, he shut off the real-time monitoring equipment. He promises to turn the monitors back on once the vaccination is complete. Hearing this explanation, Lisa doesn't overthink it. She just tells him to complete the vaccination as soon as possible, warning him that if the farm's data isn't uploaded by 6 a.m. the next day, the directorate will send someone to investigate. In the meantime, all salmon from that farm are banned from being harvested or sold. But what Lisa doesn't know is that as they are speaking, the farm is actively harvesting salmon. Meanwhile, at the border, refugees waiting for approval form long lines. Lacking special skills, the vast majority are denied entry. The family of Charlie, a biologist from the UK, successfully gains entry due to their scientific credentials. However, as they await final processing, Charlie's wife is diagnosed with early-stage ALS. The AI informs her to stay safe and enjoy her day. According to the Priority Act, his wife fails the screening. Seeing the notification, Charlie is stunned. Before they can react, guards enter to forcibly deport his wife. Seeing his wife from a distance, Charlie rushes over. If his wife can't stay, he doesn't want to either, so he chooses to leave with her. The wife looks at her husband, her face filled with guilt. As the family prepares to leave the refugee camp, a fixer stops them. He tells them he knows a smuggling route into the country, but the price is steep. 300 crypto coins. Led by the young man, the family arrives at the northern coast, where the smuggler is already waiting. Charlie is hesitant, worried they might be scammed, but his wife doesn't want to miss this chance. Before they left, the UK had descended into civil war, and now Norway is the only safe place in the world. After much hesitation, Charlie pays the fee. The smuggler hands him an old phone, telling him to keep it on. In 2 days at 6 a.m., their boat will dock on the northern coast of Norway, and he must be there to meet them. Urged on by the smuggler, Charlie's wife is taken into a vehicle, while Charlie and their child board an official bus and successfully enter Norway. Meanwhile, Lisa is still waiting for the farm's data, but the manager has not turned the monitoring equipment back on as promised. Lisa takes a speedboat to the farm herself. Seeing that Lisa has actually shown up, the manager tries to stall, claiming the staff responsible for preparing the vaccine just arrived and are currently working on it. But Lisa doesn't believe his smelly bullshit. Citing her authority from the directorate, she demands to inspect the salmon. Seeing he can no longer stop her, the manager lets Lisa onto the farm. A worker brings over a live salmon to prove there's nothing wrong with the fish. However, one glance is all it takes for Lisa to spot a problem. She tells him his fish is sick. The salmon has red spirals around its eyes and mouth, and its gills are turning black. Lisa quickly inspects other salmon from the same batch and finds they have the same symptoms. She learns from the manager that the fish have been sick for a week. He cut the connection to the monitors because he was afraid of being discovered. Lisa looks back and sees that the salmon in the fish pens have the same condition, indicating they are infected with some kind of virus. Yet the farm manager remains nonchalant, claiming it's just a common illness that will clear up once the new vaccine is administered. Not wanting to waste any time, Lisa rushes a sample to the lab. The test results leave her deeply unsettled. They discover a mutated virus in the fish. This virus is extremely dangerous. It not only infects fish, but can also be transmitted to humans through consumption. Anyone who eats the infected fish will develop symptoms like fever and coughing, with severe cases leading to major hemorrhaging. Lisa checks the ocean currents around the farm and realizes it's located at the beginning of a current with 8 other farms downstream. She suspects the virus has already spread to the other farms via the water. Lisa immediately reports the matter to the Prime Minister. Upon learning of the infection, the Prime Minister orders the immediate shutdown of all salmon farms. The Ministry of Health also dispatches teams to collect samples. Until the situation is clarified, all salmon on the market are banned from sale and harvesting. What no one notices is that on the shore near the farm, a salmon that died from the infection has washed up. A large quantity of salmon has already entered the market. A sexy woman who ate a dish made with the salmon develops nausea and vomiting. Her friends rush her sexy body to the hospital. With the loss of the salmon farms, Norway's meat supply drops by 60%. To maintain a basic supply, Lisa prepares to release strategic reserves. There are 50,000 tons of frozen salmon in storage, enough to supply all of Norway for 5 months. In the meantime, they will need to increase the number of greenhouses, as new salmon won't be ready for market for another year. After hearing Lisa's analysis, her superior is frustrated since only the Prime Minister has the authority to open the reserves. He tells Lisa to prepare a report first. If the Prime Minister doesn't approve, they'll have to find another way. Meanwhile, Charlie, separated from his wife, has successfully entered Norway. As a botanist, he is assigned to work in a greenhouse. As soon as he's settled, he anxiously makes his way to the designated coastline. He waits until dawn, but there is no sign of his wife's boat. Out at sea, the smugglers have been transferred to a small Tesla boat. The man piloting the boat tells everyone to grab an oar. It turns out they are in a minefield with sea mines scattered everywhere. They can't use the engine and must row by hand. After what feels like an eternity of rowing, the boat finally makes it through the minefield. But the captain doesn't notice a camera spotting them as he starts the engine. A Norwegian police drone quickly locks onto the boat upon detecting the smugglers. The police order the boat to remain stationary and await inspection by the Coast Guard, but the captain ignores the warning and speeds up. After repeated warnings are ignored, the drone opens fire. The captain engages in evasive maneuvers to dodge the gunfire, but the boat is moving too fast and crashes into the coastal reefs. Fortunately, the Coast Guard is nearby, and the injured smugglers are rushed to the hospital. But when the police arrive at the hospital, they find it overflowing with patients. It turns out that other citizens who ate the virus-infected salmon are also showing symptoms of nausea and vomiting. In just one day, there are over 100 such cases across Norway. Through testing, doctors find the same virus from the salmon in the patients' bodies. The Ministry of Health immediately reports the situation. Learning that the virus-tainted fish has started spreading on land, the Norwegian Prime Minister initiates a Level 1 emergency response. He orders the immediate removal of all fish products from shelves and requires all Norwegian citizens to undergo screening. Lisa, still unaware of the virus outbreak in the city, is at sea with her assistant collecting samples. She suspects that other fish carried the virus into the farming area via the ocean currents. Based on the current speed, she calculates that the water in this area will be flushed out in about 2 weeks. They would just need to reintroduce new fry to have the first batch of fish ready by the end of the year. However, when Lisa returns to the lab with the samples, the results show that neither the nearby seawater nor the local fish carry the virus. Staring at the report, Lisa is baffled, wondering how the virus got there if the red-eye virus wasn't brought in by the ocean current. As Lisa ponders this, she sees the Prime Minister giving a speech. Just recently, the Norwegian Coast Guard found the bodies of 2 smugglers who had been dead for some time in the waters near the farm. Doctors found the same mutated virus from the salmon in the smugglers' bodies. The exact nature of the virus still requires further analysis by experts. Currently, there are infected patients in 4 different locations in Norway. Citing the virus's transmissibility and potential danger, the Prime Minister decides to seal off several areas. All regions with confirmed cases will be locked down with no one allowed to leave. Seeing the news on TV, Lisa is stunned. How could the virus have spread so quickly in just one day? She rushes to the farm, only to find Ministry of Health workers hauling away dead salmon, some of which are already rotting and emitting a foul stench. Lisa notices the farm's security cameras and wants to ask the owner for the footage, but as she approaches, she sees the owner being carried out, completely covered. He has also been infected, and his condition is far more severe than the others. The Ministry of Health begins a full-scale disinfection of the farm. While the staff is busy, Lisa secretly takes the farm's surveillance recorder, but upon returning to the directorate, she receives another urgent notice. There's a problem in the agricultural zone's greenhouses. Lisa and her assistant immediately rush to the affected greenhouse. The issue is with some tomatoes, which are showing black mold and internal rot. Lisa instantly recognizes it as anthracnose. But the greenhouses have very strict sterilization protocols. How could the tomatoes get this disease? The first person to discover the problem with the tomatoes was Charlie. As a botanist, Charlie also finds it strange. Under normal circumstances, plants don't get anthracnose. Charlie suspects an animal brought the pathogen into the greenhouse, causing the infection. He recommends a full disinfection of the greenhouse and sampling of the harvested tomatoes. If other tomatoes are also infected, the entire greenhouse will have to be destroyed. Charlie's professionalism surprises Lisa, and she adopts his suggestions, sealing off the greenhouse. Just as Lisa finishes collecting samples, Charlie receives a text message. Thinking it's from his wife about her successful crossing, he rushes to the meeting point mentioned in the text. However, when he arrives at the small wood, he doesn't find his wife. Instead, he sees the young fixer who arranged their smuggling. The fixer tells Charlie about the boat capsizing. Fortunately, his wife didn't die but was injured and taken to the hospital. The fixer says they will find a way to get Charlie's wife out. But first, they have something important to do. The fixer's companion produces a syringe and tells Charlie he needs to be vaccinated. It turns out that because of the influenza outbreak in Norway, the authorities are checking the vaccination records of recent arrivals. Charlie and the others haven't received the Norwegian vaccine, and if they're discovered, they will be deported. Before Charlie can say anything, the fixer injects him. What Charlie doesn't know is that what the fixer injected him with was not a vaccine at all. Meanwhile, at the hospital, Charlie's wife also begins showing symptoms of infection. Black patches appear on her neck, accompanied by fever and coughing. The other smuggled refugees who were brought in show the same symptoms. The attending doctor immediately realizes something is wrong. The hospital seals off the entire floor and quarantines all the infected individuals. However, the virus's power still exceeds everyone's imagination. A busy Lisa is suddenly summoned to the Prime Minister's office. It is from the Prime Minister that Lisa learns what virus everyone is infected with. the Prime Minister announces the investigation's findings to the nation. The patients are not infected with a mutated red-eye virus, but with something tens of thousands of times more terrifying, the plague. The very same Black Death that killed millions in Europe centuries ago. Through transmission and iteration, the virus has now evolved 7 times. A person can go from infection to death in as little as 2 days. By tracing the source, Norwegian scientists discovered that this plague was brought in by the smugglers found at sea. The smugglers had an accident while crossing and drowned. Their bodies were carried by the ocean currents to the salmon farm, contaminating the water and infecting the salmon, which in turn brought the virus to land. For safety, the Prime Minister decides to lock down all of Norway. Anyone without Norwegian citizenship will be deported. Even those who obtained visas for their special skills are on the deportation list. As an inspector at the Directorate, Lisa's department will be responsible for all food supplies during the lockdown. Fortunately, the Prime Minister is a man who plans ahead. When the world fell into chaos, he had already stockpiled large quantities of frozen meat and vegetables, enough to feed all of Norway's citizens for a year. While the Prime Minister holds his press conference, the situation in the hospitals deteriorates. The first infected patients begin coughing uncontrollably. Before doctors can intervene, they suffer massive hemorrhaging and die on the spot. Hearing the Prime Minister's report, Lisa is completely dismayed. She feels there's something strange about this plague. How did it become so severe in just a few days? She thinks of the tomatoes, suspecting they might have been infected by rats. She rushes to the greenhouse and finds a dead rat in a corner. She dissects it, but finds no tomatoes in its stomach, only a strange black substance. Lisa takes the substance back to the lab. Through analysis, she finds the same virus from the salmon in the black substance, thinking that a rat might have eaten a dead salmon and then brought the virus to the greenhouse. But Lisa still can't figure out how the tomatoes were infected. Puzzled, Lisa contacts a virologist, wanting to ask about the connection between the two. But after waiting for a long time, the virologist doesn't answer her video call. She has no choice but to send him the data released by the Ministry of Health. Just as she puts down her computer, Lisa receives a package. Curious, she looks and sees it's from her friend, Kane. She opens it to find a key and a note. Following the address on the note, Lisa finds a storage unit. Inside, she finds a box full of hard drives. Lisa takes the box home and plugs a drive into her computer. Opening the files, she discovers they contain videos labeled with dates. Lisa plays the earliest video, and Kane appears on screen. Seeing Kane researching fish vaccines, Lisa is stunned. She then plays other videos and is shocked to see the Prime Minister's secretary in them as well. From their conversation, Lisa learns that Kane seems to be studying a virus. In addition to the secretary, Lisa also sees the Minister of Security in the videos. The three of them appear to be plotting something. At the same time, Norwegian experts confirm through testing that the workers are infected with the legendary plague. Having undergone 7 iterations, the plague virus has mutated. The Norwegian Prime Minister immediately sealed off the areas where the outbreak began, but the virus spreads too quickly. In less than 2 weeks, there are over 1,000 cases throughout Norway. The country's second largest city, Bergen, becomes the epicenter of the disaster, with over 1,000 cases in just 1 week. To prevent further spread, the military locks down the entire country. Citizens are forbidden to move, and soldiers are authorized to shoot any violators on sight. At home, Lisa is still going through Kane's lab journals. In the videos, she uncovers a shocking secret. A year ago, Kane was invited to research the mutated red-eye virus. 6 months ago, a company called Alpha Pharmaceuticals received a 150 million order from the Ministry of Health to produce a multi-purpose flu vaccine. This vaccine could not only immunize against most flu viruses, but also against the plague. The site of their experiments was the very same farm where the monitor went offline. However, the research did not go smoothly. 2 researchers were infected during the study and eventually died. After watching the videos, a terrible thought forms in Lisa's mind. She thinks this epidemic may have been man-made. Connecting this with the contents of the journal, her first thought is the Prime Minister. But she quickly dismisses the idea, unable to believe the Prime Minister could be so malicious. But what about the commission in the video? The Ministry of Health was developing a targeted vaccine 6 months before the virus even appeared. It seems far too convenient to be a coincidence. Lisa takes the hard drives to an opposition party leader. Seeing the video, he is also in disbelief. He can't believe the Prime Minister would orchestrate something so horrific. Lisa suggests they investigate the bodies of the 2 refugees. If they weren't the ones who brought in the plague, it would prove the Prime Minister lied. However, the 2 refugees have already been cremated. Learning they've been disposed of, Lisa's suspicions deepen. With no direct evidence, the opposition party leader isn't sure if the events in the video are real. He tells Lisa to protect the data while he investigates. If the Prime Minister is truly behind this, he will make him pay the price. Returning home, Lisa hides all the hard drives, but as she turns around, she finds Charlie standing behind her. The Prime Minister has issued a deportation order for all non-Norwegian residents. Charlie's wife was an infected person, so as a family member, he has become a person of interest. But the worst part is that Charlie has discovered he is also infected with the plague. As a scientist, he knows he wasn't infected when he entered Norway. The virus has an incubation period of only a few hours and develops rapidly. If he had been infected in the refugee camp, he would never have made it in. Charlie remembers the vaccine the fixer injected him with. There must have been something wrong with it. To figure out why he was infected, Charlie finds Lisa that night. When Lisa learns that Charlie contracted the plague after being injected with a vaccine, her suspicions are further confirmed. She rushes to find the opposition party leader to tell him someone is intentionally spreading the virus. But to her surprise, the leader tells her to stop her investigation immediately. It turns out that after watching her video, he started a secret investigation but was abducted by a group of mysterious men. If it weren't for his high-profile status, he would have likely been secretly eliminated. Moreover, the Prime Minister has taken control of the military under the Special Act, and now the entire country is under his command. Before Lisa can respond, the man hurries away, warning her to be careful, as she might be being watched too. Watching his hasty departure, Lisa feels lost. She never imagined things were even more serious than she thought. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister's secretary, Caro, receives a call from the Ministry of Health. The flu vaccine they distributed is ineffective. Due to multiple iterations, the plague virus has evolved, and the vaccine they developed can no longer control the epidemic. Learning the vaccine has failed, Caro is also surprised. She can only tell the Ministry of Health to quickly assemble experts to develop a new one. To find out how the plague really spread, Lisa takes Charlie to a factory. She wants to find the fixer who injected Charlie with the vaccine. But as soon as they get out of the car, they are spotted by a surveillance camera at the entrance. The military is immediately dispatched upon learning of Charlie's presence at the factory. In a corner, Charlie finds the fixer, who becomes extremely agitated and tries to kill him. During the struggle, the fixer's gun accidentally goes off, and he shoots himself. Just then, the police team arrives at the factory. Fully armed officers rush in and arrest everyone present. Lisa asks the police to call for an ambulance, but the arresting team ignores the injured fixer and orders everyone to put their hands on their heads. Forced by the police, Lisa has no choice but to comply. She is taken to a prison. As soon as she enters, she feels nauseous and realizes she might also be infected with the plague. Staff immediately collect a blood sample from her, but what Lisa doesn't expect is what happens next. The military has received a secret order from the Ministry of Justice to investigate a terrorist attack, and the target of the investigation is Lisa. It turns out the fixer killed at the factory was no ordinary person. He was involved in border smuggling and human trafficking. The infected individuals found at the farm earlier were brought in by this fixer. Because of his identity, Lisa is implicated. The Ministry of Justice accuses her of smuggling and murder. They even suspect her of masterminding the entire epidemic as a terrorist attack. Faced with these accusations from the Ministry of Justice, Lisa is utterly dumbfounded. She tries to defend herself, but the investigating officer refuses to listen. The news of the epidemic in Norway has also reached the World Health Organization. The UN demands that Norway report all data and disclose the virus strain and number of infections. In response, the head of the Ministry of Health submits a report. However, the report is not accurate. The official falsely claims that the outbreak is confined to Bergen, a region now under military control with all entry and exit points sealed. He assures them that they are capable of handling the crisis, that scientists have already begun research, and that a tragedy like the one in Europe centuries ago will not be repeated. On the outskirts of Bergen, in a temporary camp set up by the military, all infected citizens are gathered. The situation is far worse than anyone imagined. In this camp alone, there are over 1,000 infected individuals, and their conditions are worsening. High fevers are accompanied by coughing, and most patients have developed black spots on their bodies. All the doctors can do is administer antibiotics. Back in prison, Lisa receives her medical report. It shows she is not infected with the plague. Seeing the results, Lisa is confused. She was in close contact with Charlie. How could she not be infected? While Lisa is pondering this, a bald man enters her cell to flex his bald head. Lisa recognizes him thanks to his baldness. She saw him in Kane's video. The man introduces himself as a special agent from the Department of Security. They want Lisa's help with something. If she agrees, she will be released immediately. But if she refuses, she will be charged with planning a terrorist attack using the plague. Faced with the agent's threat, Lisa naturally refuses. The agent doesn't say much, just tells her to think it over and leaves before she can respond. The military has decrypted Lisa's computer and found some of the data from the hard drives, the files Lisa sent to the virologist. Learning that Lisa has seen Kane's research records, the Minister of Health looks panicked. She glances at Caro, but Caro tells her not to worry. They will handle everything. As the virus is iterating too quickly, the vaccine has become completely useless. The Prime Minister has no choice but to issue a curfew. Furthermore, the Prime Minister asks Caro to report the epidemic situation truthfully to the WHO, hoping to get scientists from around the world involved in vaccine development. However, Caro believes they shouldn't report the full truth. The whole world is in chaos, with wars everywhere. By the time the WHO develops a vaccine, it could be a decade later. Leaking news of the epidemic would only cause panic. If citizens knew how severe the situation was, the Prime Minister's approval ratings would plummet, making it a counterproductive move. Hearing Caro's analysis, the Prime Minister is torn. In the prison, a doctor finds something strange about Charlie, who has been confirmed infected. Based on the infection's progression, Charlie should have developed black spots and severe coughing 2 days ago. But after being infected for over a week, he only has a mild fever and cough. The doctor finds this odd and collects some blood samples. Meanwhile, the agent from the Department of Security visits Lisa again. Just yesterday, the number of new infections in Norway skyrocketed by over 2,000. They must develop a vaccine as soon as possible, or the entire country will fall within 3 weeks. The Department of Security sought out Lisa because she was once a top biologist, and they desperately need someone with her talent. The agent also reveals a secret to Lisa. The plague only appeared in Norway 6 weeks ago. The Ministry of Health was indeed developing a related vaccine, but it was a combination vaccine designed to prevent not only the plague, but also other common flu viruses. The reason they developed it was a fear that incoming refugees might bring another flu virus into Norway. The truth is not what she imagines. He gives her his personal guarantee that the Prime Minister has absolutely no connection to the virus. As for how the virus spread, he isn't sure either. Hearing the agent's words, Lisa is taken aback. The agent says this is his last visit. If she still refuses, she will be sent to prison by the Ministry of Justice next week. Looking at the contract on the table, Lisa finally relents. But what no one notices is that as Lisa is being led away, 2 hazmat-suited individuals arrive at the prison. They find Charlie's cell and release some kind of gas into it. After a brief struggle, Charlie passes out. The 2 mysterious figures enter the cell, wrap a bedsheet around Charlie's neck, and prepare to stage the scene as a suicide. But just as they leave, the doctor in charge of Charlie arrives. Seeing Charlie apparently attempting suicide, she quickly unties the sheet. After emergency treatment, Charlie narrowly escapes with his life. Fearing an outbreak in the prison, Charlie is moved to the military's temporary camp, where Lisa happens to be. Seeing that Charlie is okay, Lisa's heart can finally rest. Charlie asks Lisa to help find his wife, but Lisa regretfully informs him that his wife passed away from the infection last week. His daughter, however, is safe and has been placed in an orphanage. Hearing that his daughter is safe, Charlie lets out a long sigh. The situation is far more severe than Lisa imagined. In the few days she was detained, the plague has already iterated several more times. Logically, the lethality of the pathogen should decrease with each iteration, but strangely, the plague's virulence has not weakened, but has actually intensified. An average person can only survive for 3 to 4 days from infection to death, which goes against all logic. Lisa rushes to the lab where staff are testing the newly iterated samples. Lisa brings the original salmon sample from the farm. In this salmon with the crushed head, she finds the pathogen. This is what caused the salmon's disease. Lisa speculates that the Yersinia pestis bacteria in the salmon is the original strain. If they can anchor the original strain, they can develop a targeted vaccine. Lisa has the staff extract samples and compare them with patient samples. From another staff member, Lisa learns that as the epidemic spreads, the pathogen's iteration speed has reached once every 48 hours. According to theory, A pathogen's characteristics will change qualitatively after every 3 iterations. If they can't make a breakthrough before the 3rd iteration, all their work will be for nothing. This is why the lab has made no progress. The pathogen's iteration speed seems highly unusual to Lisa. It defies logic. She thinks of Kane's research. If the agent didn't lie to her, then the problem must lie in that research. Considering the iteration speed of Yersinia pestis, Lisa feels the current research is pointless. They can never catch up to the speed of its evolution. Additionally, Lisa discovers that an antibiotic called AMR is effective on patients. This antibiotic was developed by Lisa herself. She requests that all doctors administer this antibiotic to patients. Although it can't cure the plague, it can help patients hold on for a few more days. Lisa's bold move surprises the Prime Minister, who secretly meets with her. Although the agent said the epidemic has nothing to do with the Prime Minister, Lisa remains skeptical, and at this point the Prime Minister is still convinced that the plague was brought in by refugees. However, Lisa raises several points of doubt. She opens the AI system and pulls up 2 files. It turns out the first person infected with the plague was the lab researcher, Kane. Charlie's wife and the other refugees only arrived at the refugee camp weeks later. If the refugees brought the plague in, how did Kane get infected? Furthermore, the report states that the pathogen in Charlie's wife's body is identical to the one in Kane's, but the two never had any contact, and the pathogen mutates so quickly, so they should not be exactly the same. This implies that the pathogen in Charlie's wife's body came from Kane's. Someone must have injected Kane's blood into Charlie's wife. Seeing the comparison results, the Prime Minister is stunned. He also realizes something is wrong. His first thought is of his secretary, Caro, and she must be hiding something from him. The Prime Minister tells Lisa to go back for now. If the report is indeed flawed, he will announce it to the public. Seeing the Prime Minister's reaction, a great weight lifts from Lisa's shoulders. It seems the Prime Minister genuinely didn't know how the plague spread. Back in the lab, Lisa analyzes the collected samples. She finds that the pathogen in the salmon is indeed the same as the one in the patients. Clearly, the epidemic was spread through the salmon. Just then, Lisa discovers a blood sample in which the patient's antibodies show an inhibitory effect on the pathogen. She immediately locates the sample and is shocked to find it belongs to Charlie. A staff member tells her that Charlie seems to have a natural resistance to the plague. While others develop black spots after infection, Charlie's condition has not only not worsened, but is showing signs of recovery. Lisa rushes to the camp, intending to draw more of Charlie's blood. But when she arrives, she finds that Charlie is gone. Behind the camp, Caro is being led into a military vehicle by 2 mysterious men. The vehicle drives deep into a dense forest. Charlie is dragged out. The lead man pulls out a weapon, intending to kill him, but just as he is about to fire, a small team appears in the forest. They quickly neutralize the 2 men and take the terrified Charlie with them. Meanwhile, Caro is preparing for a press conference, but her assistant finds her with a report. It turns out that yesterday, the Prime Minister bypassed Caro and reported the true state of the Norwegian epidemic to the World Health Organization. The Prime Minister also requested the WHO to send experts to help Norway. A Swiss biological team has already arrived at the border and the Prime Minister is there to welcome them. However, as the experts prepare to enter, they are notified that the Norwegian authorities have not approved their application. Hearing this, the Prime Minister is completely baffled since he personally approved the application. The Prime Minister tries to get the expert team to force their way in, but several helicopters suddenly appear overhead. They announce that under the Special Act, the military is taking control and threaten to open fire on anyone who disobeys. Before the Prime Minister can process what is happening, he is dragged back by his guards. Upon returning to his office, he finds Caro and others waiting for him. It was Caro who rejected the expert team's application. Hearing this, the Prime Minister finally understands everything. Under his questioning, Caro reveals the truth. 1.5 years ago, a Norwegian salmon farm was infected with a red-eye disease. This was caused by high-density farming, where salmon would scrape against the nets, leading to inflammation. The farm owner quickly cured the salmon with medication, but this caught the attention of the Ministry of Health. In these special times, with the world at war, salmon is crucial to Norway. To prevent any disruption to the salmon supply, the Ministry of Health decided to develop a vaccine to eradicate the disease. They approached Kane and commissioned his lab to do the research. During his research, Kane discovered that Yersinia pestis was very effective against red-eye disease, so the lab began studying it. They altered the bacteria's properties and synthesized a new strain. After 6 months of hard work, the vaccine was developed. Kane took the vaccine to the farm and injected a small number of salmon in a pen. Initially, the results were excellent, and the disease was effectively controlled. However, in subsequent research, Kane found that the modified Yersinia pestis, while solving the problem, underwent uncontrollable mutations after being injected into the fish. The salmon's eyes not only turned red, but their mouths did too. Kane wanted to collect some samples, but during the process, he and a staff member were accidentally infected. Upon learning this, Caro immediately halted the research. They destroyed all materials, and the salmon injected with the new vaccine were disposed of as hazardous waste. But unknown to them, some of the dead salmon washed ashore. The rotting fish attracted rats, which ate the salmon meat and carried the pathogen into human society, triggering the epidemic. When Caro learned of the domestic outbreak, she devised a vicious plan. She would use the epidemic to eliminate all the refugees. The Prime Minister was nothing but a pawn. She had long since sidelined him. Learning the truth, the Prime Minister is devastated. He wants to tell the public, but Caro forbids it. She unilaterally revokes all of the Prime Minister's authority. Due to Charlie's disappearance, Lisa's research is forced to a halt. To make matters worse, her own son has now contracted the plague. As Lisa struggles with what to do, a female police officer finds her. The officer leads Lisa to an abandoned factory where she finds Charlie. He is fully recovered. Just then, a man emerges from the shadows. From him, Lisa learns that the people who tried to kill Charlie were under Caro's command. The Directorate had long suspected something was wrong within the Norwegian government and that Caro had sidelined the Prime Minister. But the man, being only from the Directorate, couldn't command the military. Fortunately, the Directorate had some resources of its own and they managed to intercept Charlie. Lisa draws some blood samples from Charlie's body. She studies the samples and discovers a type of bacteriophage in his blood that can devour the mutated plague. This sudden discovery fills Lisa with joy. She immediately extracts the bacteriophage and injects it into her son. After a night of rest, her critically ill son makes a full recovery. Learning that Lisa's vaccine works, Caro wastes no more time. She immediately orders the agent to eliminate Lisa and the others. But by the time the agent and his men arrive at the camp, Lisa and her family have already been taken away by the man. Before leaving, Lisa had arranged for a pharmaceutical company to begin producing the antidote. With the help of the new drug, the epidemic is finally brought under control. However, the story is far from over. Under pressure from Caro, the sidelined Prime Minister is forced to resign, and Caro naturally takes his place. On a small island in Norway, Lisa and the others have been settled by the man. Clearly, the story is not yet finished. This concludes the summary of the first season of this drama.